I just want to address something for a minute here because I don't have that much time. I have to be somewhere shortly. But I have been thinking about how young people today uh, have the whole world at their disposal potentially in a way that young people, uh, when I was young, I'll just say, when I was growing up, we didn't have the same kinds of opportunities uh, to expose um, our creative kinds of or are just goofing off together or whatever it was. We didn't do that for the world. We couldn't do that for the world. Let me explain what I mean. Today, anyone can get on YouTube, right, and share anything, or other social media sites. You can like there are there's a group of kids on Instagram, group of like I think three uh, little boys, like 10 or 11 years old, somewhere around there, and they it's it's somewhat charming. They all kind of they talk like little boys, but a couple of them have speech impediments, but they're saying like, who's the best batter in the American League? They're like sports oriented, and or sometimes they say, what's your favorite topping on pizza? And they go around, and each of them expresses their point of view on that. And like these kids who are just normal little kids, you know, get have managed to get somewhat of a following on Instagram, and I subscribe to them just because I think it's funny. Um, but when I was young, uh, we would my friends and I would just have to entertain ourselves. Uh, we'd have the most incredible thing to have. I shouldn't say that, but an incredible thing to have. It seemed like a really cool thing to have was a tape recorder, because you could actually say something into the tape recorder and hear yourself later, and it would be like, wow, I'm tape recording myself saying things. And so you and your friends would get on and like maybe sometimes do skits, or usually it was something not as organized as that. You'd just be goofing off. Sometimes it would be funny, sometimes it would be stupid, sometimes it would be funny and stupid. Um, Sometimes it would be worthwhile, other times not. But it definitely was hit or miss. Uh, but what I'm saying is that kids who wanted to just goof off or be creative or just have fun, you know, in the era that I was growing up, the late '70s and the early '80s, you know, we would have tapes, right? So, example, I at my elementary school, I would announce field day when it was field day. The red team versus the blue team. The school would be divided up into people who were on the red team and those who were on the blue team, and we'd have different events. And it was something most kids didn't really get into that much. I got into it. I thought, this is really cool. This is like the school Olympics, you know, and because I was a dork, and so I would announce things. So like we were watching events, and I would do the play by play of watching the egg spoon race, or the sometimes they were or just the it was like a facsimile of a baton, a race where one runner, like the 4x100, where there's a handoff, to another runner takes the baton, and so forth and so on. And but I would be announcing everything. I'd be announcing it all as it was happening. And I thought it was so cool, and I would keep those tapes and listen to them. And it was like a treat to get to listen to yourself, listen to the events of that day, as you were announcing it. And also, there were a lot of other kids being obnoxious, of course, that came with the territory. Because when there's a tape recorder, if there's a tape recorder back then, it was like, wow, there's a tape recorder. This is me. This is my voice on a tape recorder. It had that kind of appeal to it, even though a tape was really, I mean, you could not share a tape the same way that you share a video online. You share something online, it immediately goes out to the world, to everyone in the world who wants to see it. Everyone in the world who's subscribed to Instagram or who gets on YouTube has a chance to see it. And usually, of course, when little kids put something on the internet, nobody really watches it. But sometimes they do, and sometimes it catches on, and sometimes it goes viral, and sometimes it becomes a meme. And that just was not a possibility for us back then. When you just recorded something on a tape, and it was just just audio tape. I guess a little bit later, if I'd grown up a little bit later, maybe video cameras would be more prevalent, and maybe kids like in the 90s growing up then would do the same kind of thing that I'm talking about, but more often with a video camera, because by that time video cameras had become somewhat portable or more accessible, more affordable. But today, I don't know, there's this, you have this access to the world, potentially, and there's good and there's bad that can come from that. Whereas in our day, that was not, in my day, in the days of my youth, that was not even a possibility. The most that would happen would be you would record something on a tape, and you and some friends would record something, and then you would enjoy it. you would enjoy the experience of whatever you were doing, pretending to be, I don't know, pretending to have it, to give an interview to somebody, or I don't know, goofing off or whatever. There were various ways that you could entertain yourself and others with a tape recorder. Just making your own entertainment, just being uninhibited and goofy and crazy and stuff. But afterwards, that really just kind of remained a joke between you, at most between you and your buddies that helped you make this tape, and other times sometimes it was just you just listened. You would record something, you would narrate a trip with your family. You would say, okay, we're on the road and we're going to blah blah blah, and then you would just listen to it later and like, oh yeah, we were on the road and we're going to blah blah blah. And you wouldn't be seeing anything. It would just be like, oh, now I'm listening to this tape and I'm remembering this event. It was different when in the analog days, when in order to see something or hear something, you had to have something solid like a tape or a cartridge, or later, a CD or a DVD. Even though I guess technically a DVD is digital, but it's still analog in the sense that you don't, it's not streamed uh, on the internet. The same way that a mixtape is different uh, just from going on doing an, it's not an iPod shuffle anymore, right? That's outdated, but going to, going to some music site and having them play music of a certain kind, like a mixtape. Making a mixtape, you would record songs on the radio, you know, so that you wouldn't have to buy them. Like listen to Casey Kasem, the weekly top 40, or America's top 40, whatever. It was Rick Dees who had the weekly top 40. There were a bunch of them vying for prominence, but you would wait for the song that you wanted to hear, and you would record it. You would put the tape in and then hit ideally have record and play already pushed, but with the pause button there. So all you had to do was hit the pause button to unpause it, so that there was less of a harsh sound of you pushing down on the record play buttons at the beginning of the song, so it sounded more seamless. But then at the end, you would the DJ would come on or whatever, and you would turn it off, but you would hear that was blah 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 blah, like a few words from the DJ. It was just a different experience. And it seems like it's important to note these things. I don't know exactly what conclusion to draw from all of this, except to say that, the world it was harder to have access to the world. You had to find a way to get on television, like being on, if you were at, say, a sporting event, if you were at a baseball game, and you were at, like, a foul ball was hit near your section, and you saw yourself, like, you recorded the game and then later saw yourself in that section. It was like, whoa, I'm on TV. Me along with 30,000 other people who were there, and I'm just there. You can just see me briefly for a minute, and nobody cares, but I care because it's me and I'm on television. I'm famous. It was like a different sort of thing. Like it was harder to gain access to media. And so when you did gain access, it was more exciting. It was in some ways, I guess, a more naive time. So those are my thoughts, for whatever they're worth.